when you look at history, 2020 will be a very big year. And we all understand what happened, right? With COVID, people being locked down, literally liberties being destroyed, like right in front of us. As it was happening, everybody saw this, right? This should piss off literally everybody in the world. Because yesterday there was a get together, I would say, in Washington, where it was a Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs committee hearing that took place on May 13th. And it was chaired by Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, and it focused on whistleblower testimony from CIA Senior Operations Officer James Erdman III about an alleged multi-agency cover-up of COVID-19's origins.
What the fuck?
Okay. So this is about 11 minutes long, and I just want to go through it, and I want to watch this entire thing with you, Kirsha, because this should piss everybody off because it affected literally everybody in the entire world. I don't know how infuriated I am by this, because what we're going to listen to pretty much confirms everything you actually thought about COVID. And here's another fun fact. Not a single Democrat showed up to this hearing out of protest to it. Let's take a look and see what happens here. And Kirsha, we'll start and stop as you see fit, okay?
Okay.
Good morning, Chairman Paul and other members of the Oversight Committee. Thank you for the complimentary introduction, and I appreciate the committee's dedication to transparency and accountability. I am a career CIA operations officer, and as you mentioned, I was on joint duty assignment at the Office of Director National Intelligence Directors Initiatives Group, or the DIG, between March 2025 and April 2026. I was responsible for leading the DIG's investigation into COVID origins, anomalous health incidents.
You okay, Kirsha?
I think it's funny that it's called the dig, and then also on his left shoulder, there's a woman who was holding her phone like I have to because she has nails as long as me, and so she's like just fucking with her phone in the background the entire time.
This lady here?
Yeah,
Right.
like that's literally me, for real, for real.
This lady over here is asking, like, why are you holding up your phone over there? Here we go.
Sorry,
Let's
I get like, I just look at everything in a video I'm watching, and so sometimes I notice things that aren't pertinent to what the video's about. I'm sorry.
I love it. No, it's okay.
2026. I was responsible for leading the DIG's investigation into COVID origins, anomalous health incidents, and unidentified anomalous phenomena.
By the way, that's a pretty big title right there. That's a lot of responsibility. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm here today to discuss the COVID cover-up, the national security implications associated with the DIG's investigative findings, and CIA refusal to comply with lawful oversight, as well as how we remedy these problems.
By the way, I think that's actually really good, because a lot of people come in and they talk about the problems, but they don't talk about the solutions, which he is looking to do.
Intelligence community leaders and senior analysts downplayed the possibility that the COVID pandemic originated as a result of a lab incident. Motives are difficult to define given the scope of the DIG's review. Intentional or not, the IC's actions resulted in a cover-up, wasted resources, and a failure to properly inform policymakers. Public health policy would have been very different had the American public been made aware that a virus from a lab in China was going to serve as the foundation for an emergency use authorization mRNA products being mandated by the former administration. Dr. Fauci's role in the cover-up was intentional.
I don't know if you can be any more straight up than that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, It's also crazy because you think of how many people who talked about the lab leak theory before it was proven that it was from a lab and not from someone eating a bat at a market, which, like, that was a crazy thing to try and convince people happened in the first place. And especially, it's like, if you're going to try and lie about something like that, why would you make it the market that's right outside where the laboratory is in the first place? Like, wouldn't you want to obfuscate that a little bit more, you would think? I don't know. I wonder how all the people who got tattoos of Fauci are going to feel after this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
They won't care.
Yes.
That's true. They're dedicated to believing in false realities. So, you're probably right.
If you said that this came from a lab in 2020, you were you were pushed off YouTube so quick.
Yep.
You would be banned immediately. I go back to Adam Krigler, who received, 10 strikes on his channel simply for saying...
I think it was 7?
More than it
Crazy
should have
amount.
been.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But just the idea of saying the most mundane things, like, I think that this came from a lab that, was across the street from where this wet market apparently was. It's so blatantly obvious and everybody fucking knew. All right, let's continue.
I think before we continue, I think another important thing to notice is while everyone is doing the victory laps of "we fucking told you, you retards," should also keep in mind, if this is something that you were heinously punished for even acknowledging as a possibility, right? Even if you weren't saying it definitely came from a lab, you guys, like, what are you doing? Even if you were entertaining it as a theory, you were still punished for having that out there as a creator. Mm-hmm. How many other things are you not allowed to say, even though they are in objective reality? It should really make people question, how many things are we told that we cannot say under threat of punishment, under, getting strikes on our channels, getting our channels banned, maybe someone losing their job, right? How many other things are we not allowed to say, even though they're objectively true?
So would you like me to really piss you off?
What?
Like really piss you off?
Oh, no.
This took place on May 13th, 2026. Anthony Fauci spoke May 11th, 2021, meaning that there is a 5-year federal statute of limitations for him to be punished for this. Very convenient.
Well, he can't anyway. He's pardoned.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was the last thing Joe Biden did, was he pardoned him.
Well, there's different thoughts on that as well.
Well, if you talk about auto pen and stuff like that's your way in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's go and continue here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to get really upset, and then thankfully was reminded, Biden pardoned him anyway, so.
And I also just want to add as well, real fast here, like, this is the dangers of censoring anything. Like, there's no harm in people being exposed to all sorts of ideas, whether crazy, real, not, whatever. And YouTube decided to censor information. And I'll remind everyone that Rumble did not. And a lot of people came to Rumble because you're allowed to actually say what you want to say. And if you were on this platform, you were exposed to all sorts of different ideas, and you could make up your own mind and do your own research. YouTube decided to be your daddy and tell you what you were allowed to hear and what you were not allowed to hear. And it turns out that gamble was completely wrong. You could argue you could make an argument that they may have been responsible for some harm being done to people and society, all because they wanted to censor shit.
Oh, I don't think you 100%. That's not an argument.
I'm speaking in legalese.
Allow me to be blunt. Yes, that is blatantly what happened. So once again, do us a favor, follow us over on Rumble, just in case. I mean, even now, like, I don't even know if we're allowed to talk about this shit, at least when it comes to this. I mean, I guess YouTube has loosened the reins a little bit, but still, this is the sacred cow for a long time. Let's continue.
Dr. Fauci influenced the analytical process and findings by leveraging his position to ensure the IC consulted with a conflicted list of curated subject matter experts, public health officials, and scientists. This included some of the authors of the paper, The Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2, and other public health experts who have been in his orbit for the last 20-plus years. Some of the scientists were part of the Biological Sciences Experts Group, or the BSEG, an office an Office of Director National Intelligence Advisory Body, whose members often receive considerable funding from NIAID and public health agencies. The BSEG scientists influence national laboratory, WMD research, policy decisions, finished analysis, and other intelligence matters, creating misaligned incentives and conflicts of interest, as well as counterintelligence issues. Since 2006, the BSEG consulted part-time on biodefense issues for the IC, while conducting government-funded research and holding academia positions, as well as maintaining roles in public health institutions and serving as members in the National Academy of Science. They receive funding from NIAID and other agencies for vaccine research, USAID's PREDICT project, the Cooperative Threat Reduction Program, and even worked with Chinese scientists on coronavirus and other pathogen studies pursuing vaccines.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There was no oversight monitoring how this web of relationships influenced research, policy, and public health in any holistic way for over 20 years. In fact, several of the BSEG scientists helped Dr. Fauci rewrite definitions of gain of function in 2015 to lift a funding pause on dangerous research. Still others participated in planning Event 201 in 2019. This was a coronavirus pandemic tabletop exercise, curiously similar to the events that played out during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was attended by Dr. Fauci and individuals with IC ties like former DNI Avril Haines. The CIA and DNI analytic managers responsible for examining the origin of COVID made decisions inconsistent with the conclusions of subject matter experts and analytical tradecraft, consistently favoring the theory of zoonosis or natural origin. Following the CIA's COVID relook that culminated in 2023, the CIA retaliated against analysts supporting the lab leak hypothesis.
Isn't it amazing to hear the government agencies fighting against, like, you hear this hypothesis, the idea of that, hey, it came from a lab, and the CIA is actively going like, no, fuck you, and they're gonna make sure that that narrative doesn't get out. Like, how that's so disheartening to hear as a citizen of the United States.
I'm gonna say it's more than disheartening. It shows you, like, again, the government does not care about you. Yes, I know, it's terrible.
I was about to text you say, I love how I can just hear your cat meowing for the last minute.
Kitty cat's right.
But, I forgot what I was saying.
Well, you're just talking about it's more than terrible. It's more.
Yeah, it's the government, basically. I feel like they wanted to figure out a way to convince people to give up more of their rights, while at the same time, we already know that, like, we are the carbon that these crazy, freakish people want to reduce. And the vaccines created a lot of complications for women trying to get pregnant, trying to give birth. It gave people a lot of heart complications. And so it's kind of like, I wonder if part of the lying was to see if they could two-pronged convince people to be a lot more malleable to what the government wants them to do, a lot more complacent, as well as reducing population at the same time, which I guess gets back into tinfoil territory.
So it's funny you mentioned that, the idea of people who have been hurt by things that they were forced to inject into their bodies for their career or whatever it is right here. This was actually brought up by Senator Ron Johnson here about, hey, like, when are we going to talk about these people?
We need to get to the bottom of this. And right now I'm just using this moment. I need the mainstream media, CBS, ABC, CNN, to step forward and start covering what is a major scandal. How many thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of people are permanently disabled or possibly lost their life because our FDA hid the fact that there were safety signals screaming at them with the COVID injection. So again, you can't answer all my questions in terms of who's, but we need to figure out.
Not only did they hide that fact, but people were forced into taking the vaccine under threat of losing their jobs. And people had to make the decision of, do I want to take this experimental thing I know nothing about and is being pushed by a government that I clearly don't trust, or do I keep my job and my ability to provide for my family? It was a horrific position for a lot of people to be put in.
Everybody knows somebody that had to make that decision, right? And for me, I remember doing this show. My brother and I did like a COVID show where we just kind of talked about things on a day-to-day basis. And that's where, I remember having to tiptoe around these subjects when we talk about it on our show. Everybody, like, this was a big fracture in society. Once again, masking became a thing where the only time you ever saw a mask was in Asia. And if you saw people in Asia with a mask, you're like, man, that's fucking weird. And now you see these weirdos in 2026, 6 years later, who are still like, oh, COVID's still very much a thing. I must protect myself. It's when we say 2020 broke people, it literally broke people.
There were people wearing like triple masks when I was going out back around like 2022 and such.
Yes. The idea of the triple mask. There was one video I very vividly recall that was like, okay, what are we doing? This guy kept putting masks on, and it was cold outside. He put like, I think he had like 15 masks on, and he's breathing, and his air was still like leaving. And it's like, oh, okay, it's like very clearly these masks don't do dog shit. It's all performative here. So
my thing was like, I had asthma. I have asthma. I haven't gotten rid of it. But watching like people talk about how bad the disease would be for people with respiratory problems, I was like, oh shit, like this could be a really big deal for someone like me if I got it. And then the more and more like government officials were talking about like, you need to do this and we're going to figure out a way to get everyone to take it. Everyone needs to take the vaccine. Watching the double standard with like Nancy Pelosi going out and getting, her hair done and whatnot while everyone else is confined to their homes. You're not allowed to leave unless it's like an emergency or you're a necessary worker or whatever. And then also like the scientists and doctors double standard of, oh, racism is more important than COVID. So Black Lives Matter, they can riot and that's fine. That's not a super spreader event, but like Trump can't have rallies. That's a super spreader event. And that's going to cause COVID to go wild. We can't have that happen. I was like, I just don't trust anything about this. And even if this would be more of a danger to me as someone with respiratory problems, I'm not going to take the vaccine. I don't want that. And I had a lot of people, like anyone in my position would, calling them anti-vax because they refuse to take the COVID vaccine. And it's like, I've had tons of vaccines throughout my life. I don't see the COVID one as the same exact thing as all of these ones that had years of testing behind them, right? And in addition to that, this is a different type of vaccine. It's like the mRNA is different from like the ones that we get for like measles and whatnot,
Well, so this gentleman continued, James Erdman continued for a few more minutes, and I'll give you kind of a quick, wrap up of it all. But after he finished, there was a call for accountability from Josh Hawley, who is from Missouri, called for Fauci's prosecution, noting statute limitation issues and the prior pardon that you guys mentioned. He reiterated prior criminal referrals, and Senator Johnson demanded an apology from the CIA because the CIA dismissed the hearing as political theater, trying to discredit it here. So despite its own recent lab leak assessment. So, I don't know. Just nothing about this sits well with me at all. It should. People go, I wasn't really affected by it. Really? Like, because I remember very vividly going in to
how's your
stores.
Economy right now? I mean, even if you weren't personally affected, how's your economy?
Right. But think about this was one of those things where people talk about, it didn't have any mental effect on me. Do you remember? I very much remember the first time going into a grocery store where this is when the masks, you have to wear a mask everywhere. If you wear a mask, you're an anti-vaxxer, you're going to kill somebody, right?
Yeah.
Grandma's going to die. And I remember being in a grocery store and taking off my mask was like, fuck this. I am done with this. But the anxiety that I felt of being the other in the grocery store, of walking through aisles. And I remember this lady looking at me with my mask off and with no mask on. And she looked at me and she's like, fuck yeah, And then guess what? I turned the corner to go down the next aisle. She had her mask off because she's like, I don't need to play this fucking game anymore, And it was actually like very, very cool to see. Well, I mentioned the senator who was asking about the mainstream media coverage about this hearing that took place yesterday. I asked Rock how much mainstream media coverage has been put about this testimony. Would anybody like to guess how much the outlets that have covered this?
Probably zero.
Yeah, it's close to zero. And if they did mention it, the headline reads something like, some conspiratorial. It's something negative. So I'm going to say zero.
You are correct. Fox has covered it. ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN have had minimal to no coverage at all. Virtually no national coverage found on their main sites or flagship broadcast, World News Tonight, Evening News, Nightly News, whatever. Searching, this is courtesy of Grok, searching for Erdman's name or key details returned no dedicated segment or articles. Zero articles about it.
They know how to keep their public stupid. The other side knows very well how to keep that side fucking retarded at all times and just going, la, 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 just their fingers in their fucking ears constantly. And then you get to endure them saying that you guys listen to fake news all the time and they don't listen to, and I'm done.
Yeah, no, I feel Phoenix on this one. And on Craig's point where he was saying, like he took his mask off and it got another lady to take hers off too. This kind of goes into like what I was saying with how they're trying to test how complacent people would be, and what a powerful tool to get people to do what you want is shame. Nobody wants to be othered. And so when you're out in public and everyone is wearing the face mask, there's very few people who have the mental fortitude to be like, I'm going to purposefully other myself. I'm not going to wear this mask because I think everything around it is ridiculous. And a lot of people who wear the masks get overly angry. They started attacking people who wouldn't wear masks. There was that lady who spit on that guy on that plane because he pulled his mask down to eat. Like, they went absolutely crazy trying anything they could to shame people to keep those masks on. And so that, like, I agree with you entirely that, like, that mental social shame factor, it's going to play a huge, huge part. And there needs to be more people who will push back against that, because it's not even real shame, right? They're trying to force you into doing something that logically doesn't make sense. But much like everything else in clown world, we have to pretend is real even though it's not. That was another stepping stone in it. Like, you need to do this. Doesn't matter if you think it's ridiculous. It doesn't matter if you think it's fake. You have to do this. And if you don't, you're putting everyone in danger, blah, 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 blah.
You guys have a lot to say about this. And I'm hearing you on this. Like,
COVID was a long period, and people were pissed while it was happening, and then to have all of this come out, to have everyone who was punished be completely fucking vindicated, like, everyone should be angry. Yeah.
Eric came in and says, as someone who spent 4 months in a coma, 6 months of rehab from this in 2020 to 2021, I can't express how much this crap ticks me off. I still deal with medical issues I didn't have before. Jesus Christ, that's crazy. Commodore fan says, speaking of heart issues, one of my best friend's dad died 3 days after getting the J&J shot in Georgia from a blood clot. That then got pulled off the market shortly after, and they couldn't sue over the BS. That to me was like one of the biggest things, was when all the vaccine companies got immunity. It was like, oh.
I was like, that's suspicious. That's weird.
Yes. Diddly Doodler says, I remember when the vaccine was almost out, and I felt as a immunocompromised person, I would be the guinea pig for my family on it. Then they kept pushing it, and they lost me, thankfully. It's $5 for Kirsha right there. Commodore fan says, I was at a funeral in a mask out of respect for the family. Pissed me off like crazy. And it was all because he signed a waiver form to be a guinea pig for Big Pharma because he bought into the lies.
Oh, no, dude.
Our school dropout says, I mentioned this before, but I do still kind of believe, with no scientific evidence, that the vaccine could have been the reason my mom's cancer came back after 12 years clean, and she inevitably died. Jeez, sorry, man, that's rough. And once again, listen to all these like stories that these are just people tuning in today. Here, this is crazy. Blue Scarab says, my mother ended up dying from COVID back in 2020, but I'm still suspicious about what the hospital did while she was there, while she was recovering fine the night before she died. Right? Do you remember the whole ventilator thing? Like,
yeah, I was going to say, wasn't there something
swept.
with them like intubating people who shouldn't have been intubated?
Yep, shoving that ventilator in their throat, and yeah. Ace of Spades says, I had heart problems before I got the jab. Then I was forced to take it for work. And now, years later, my heart problems have gotten way worse. I used to be way healthier than now. Oof, sorry about that, man. Wynn says, I got fungal pneumonia in high school from having to wear those masks. Had to be in the hospital. Do you know how a hot human mask is a fungi petri dish?
Golly, think of all of the kids who have stunted growth. You said high school. They have like stunted growth now because of like just not being taken care of during COVID. And it's not that kids need to be in a public school setting, right? But it's like there was an article I didn't get a chance to get to on stream, but there were parents who like kept their children in the house like 24/7 during COVID, and they just got charged. They just got like criminally charged for it.
Yeah, it's on like not just the health effects from a physical aspect. It's the mental and emotional fuck up of society that there needs to be ramifications for. And every day that passes, we're getting further and further away from anything being done from this, which ultimately means nothing will be done from this, which means it'll be done again because there's no accountability ever.
It just really feels like this was a test run for how can we kill a massive amount of people and get away with it by nobody suspecting that we as the government did this, that it was just some natural pandemic that did it. I mean, you look at the Lone Star ticks, all of them being released that like give people that fucking allergy to meat as well. It just seems like a bioterrorism is on the rise.
Yeah. Daniel came in and says, COVID was the 1984 moment in our history. They conditioned people into the 5 minutes of screeching at the other. The Karens were the ones that kept the sheeple in line. Oh, man. Yeah. Counterculture came in and says, the people who gave the order to sic the CIA on American citizens whose only crime was telling the truth are still employed by the CIA right now. Yeah, that should worry you. I agree. Marmalin says, my mother worked at a call center for the government during 2020. She quit after 1 month from the literal thousands of horror stories from women who lost their babies after getting the shot. Oof, God, fucking sad. A commercial critic says CIA yesterday seized 40 boxes of JFK and MK Ultra documents that were being declassified by Representative Luna of Florida. The CIA sounds like they're out of control. $10 for Xeno Saga. Jake says, my mother was born in the 60s and grew up thinking the government had her best interest in heart. She had 2 shots and she is confined to her bed now. Her health is awful. Good Lord. You know, there's the thing about that. Like, my mom grew up the same way. Actually, my mom said this to me just the other day when they came over for Mother's Day. That's how an entire generation was raised, that the government had their best interest in heart.
I don't understand that. Like,
I know, it's so foreign. It's so foreign to me, just especially after seeing everything. I just don't know how anybody can trust that shit. You know, I feel like, you know, there's all these movies from like the 80s and 90s of these guys who are like, you know, they're living out off the grid, right? And they all get their guns and stuff like that because they don't trust the government, and they're seen as like crazy wackos. And I'm looking at those guys, I'm like, those guys are fucking heroes, man. Like those guys, they get it. They were way ahead of the time, but they're always seen as the villain in these things. So they didn't trust the government, right? Dave came in with $20. Says vaccine immunity for providers and manufacturers happened under President Ronald Reagan in 1989. God, yeah. Ugh, gross.
Should not be a thing, in my opinion.
I agree. Yet he says, does anyone else remember the politicians saying that you have to select one person to sacrifice themselves just to go get groceries? God. Sabadabadoo says, I had an older cousin and great aunt pass away alone because of the restrictions the hospitals had in 2020. People that had perpetrated this hoax need to be held accountable.
Yep.
Oh my God. All right. You guys have a lot to say and we appreciate that. Gold Soul Ninja came in for 10, says, Thank you, Side Scrollers, for this amazing showdown. 10 for Side Scrollers. Oh, that's nice. Thank you very much for that.
I
Jim
put
Farm. Yes.
I was gonna say I put the link to that parents thing in chat just really quick because they kept their kids in the house because of COVID. I guess for 4 years. So like it expands on like the mental shit that you were talking about.
Yeah. How broken. Jeez, parents who refuse to let their 3 children go outside their house. God, not even like their backyard. Leaving them in extreme mental and physical conditions are sentenced to prison. Those poor kids.
Like, how did people get mentally shot by this to this degree? Like, what made them think that everything was just apocalyptic outside to do this to their kids?
Yeah.
The guy's German. That explains it.
They're stuck in a bubble. Again, I say this every time. So that side, since they own the megaphone and voice of literally everything and we own nothing. So all they heard, and sponsored by Pfizer, like all they heard was news and actors and entertainment, like everything, shows that had that message, an undertone of this.
See, and what's weird to me is the more that happened, the more I was like, this makes me even more suspicious. Like the more that you were talking about that, the more that piled on, the more suspicious I got. And I don't understand how other people wouldn't have that sort of light switch flick where it's like, if the government is trying to get us to do this to such a harsh degree, and they're using so many artists and musicians and actors and all of these famous people to convince us to do this, like, vaccine thing, doesn't that strike you as odd? If this was actually good for us, would they not need all of this to convince us to do it?
That's how I left that side, because when everyone was screaming at me, the other side are all German soldiers. You know what I'm talking about, right? They're all German. So everyone around you is German soldiers. And I went like, well, I don't know. I've seemed to have lived with them for a long period of time, and I don't remember them being that. So I just I think I'm going to go outside. I think I'm going to have a conversation with them, just kind of get their opinions. So the people that were trapped in that typically are the people that would be trapped in that. And those that have a little bit of a thought of going, what if, let me think about that for a second, find themselves outside of that bubble like yourself. So I think it just takes a certain kind of person to willingly stay inside a bubble and question nothing.
And it's like, I guess this is part of not teaching critical thinking in schools anymore, because I feel if somebody even had like baseline critical thinking skills, they could have been like, hey, this is kind of weird. I can see a double standard with my eyes. I can see politicians and famous people still going out and doing things. I can see people with certain political persuasions still being allowed to go out and do things. It's only other political people who are not allowed to. I see people faking taking the vaccines on TV. I see newscasters and athletes who are like peak fitness having heart attacks, stroking out after taking the actual vaccine instead of faking it. I'm going to believe my eyes instead of what the party says.
Do you want to be just absolutely infuriated? Because I would like to infuriate you. Here are pictures from inside that house of the psychos who kept their kids.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to read the article, so it's definitely new.
Look at the
what?
They're cots / cribs. Look at the fucking insanity that they put on there. Like, this is the artwork that these kids were scribbling on inside. How, like, you want to talk about psychopathic shit? That's just so sad. So sad.
So what we're learning here is that even children, when put in confinement, start doing schizo scribblings on the walls like people in jail.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, literally going insane.
Sentenced to nearly 3 years. Hold on, wait a minute. If they kept their children basically imprisoned for 4, how in the fuck are they only getting nearly 3?
This guy needs to have his fucking toenails ripped out by a plier, let him regrow, then do it 5 more fucking times. Put him on a, like, this is the most vile piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. Drives me crazy.
And it's like, why did the wife go along with it?
Poor fucking kids.
Like
these
as
kids,
parents, you're supposed to like actually protect your children, not like confine them as if they are a prisoner.
Yeah. Look at this. These are the kids being freed of their house. Like, my God. Just the idea of being freed in general.
They even have them dressed like fucking criminals from a cartoon, dude, please.
Once again, keep in mind, those kids that you just saw were in fucking cribs, right? How cramped is that shit? They were 8 years old. 8 years old. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Why were
disgusting.
they sleeping in cribs if they were that old? What is happening?
I don't know, man. It's so disheartening to see these people who have been broken by this, and it's like people go, "Oh, Craig, you sound pissed." Yeah, I am pissed. This pisses me the fuck off. Everything about this pisses me off, and it should piss everybody off because it affected you and somebody you know. Someone you know probably died from this or had to do something that they didn't want to do. Like, this has affected just like every single person in the world was affected by this. This isn't like some niche thing. This fucking broke society. And yes, I'm pissed because of that. I have every right to be pissed because of that. So let's fucking do something about it. Anybody who made even remotely decision to cover anything up, same exact thing. Fucking put them in the stretcher, have the fucking... There's no punishment too harsh.
So maybe the people who are covering up all of the COVID stuff, maybe they have to get the COVID vaccine and 14 boosters, you know? Maybe they have to take the medicine they promoted to everyone else.
Man, just keep pumping them full of those fucking vaccines, right? Right? Just keep pumping them in.
Every time they were like, "Oh, have you gotten your third booster?" Well, it's time for a fourth. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, if this vaccine was real, we wouldn't need 7 trillion fucking boosters, man. What is happening?
Do you remember? God, and I know we're spending a lot of time talking about this, but do you remember it was a conspiracy theory that you would have to get a card. You'd have to get a card and put your vaccines on it, a vaccine card. People were like,
and then we got
fucking
vaccine
insane.
Passes.
Yes, right. And then like, a month later, people are like, oh, well, it happened, but not really. Fuck off. God, this drives me crazy.